Hello, my wayward souls. You look delicious today. I'm going to suck out a bit of your life force in form of your time, and in return, I'll review the latest DLC for Helldivers 2, Democratic Detonation. I tested the booster for the reduced evac timer, and it reduced a 2-minute cooldown to 1 minute and 42 seconds, so you're getting between 15 to 20 seconds. A 3-minute extraction reduced to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Considering other boosters it has to compete with, and it only activates at the end of a mission, it would still struggle for a slot at 3 times its current value. It needs a major buff. I know most of you are probably watching for weapons, so we'll do those next. The short answer is buggy. Several weapons have bugs, and all the explosive ones have one where the blast tosses you forward instead of away from the explosion, so if you are someone that won't purchase buggy products, I'll fully disclose that to you. Some people have been burned too many times by early access games and the like, and I understand. I encourage you to give Helldivers a chance, since the developers are actually trying to patch and balance things, and I don't mean in a fangirl sense, I mean this is a fact. So check back for fixes. Maybe not today, but I'd encourage you to check in a week or two rather than in 6 months or a year as I would with something from EA, if you had that policy. If you're still interested, the thermite grenades don't fully explain how the effects work, so lay back and let me bring your pulse up to speed. The description says it can burn through some armor. You may think a thermite sticky grenade will melt armor off, but that's not the case, or it's bugged. I tried sticking them to many different enemies in many different places, Devastators, Chargers, Vile Titans, and it does not melt armor off. It just does damage through armor. When it's not bouncing off a target, because they can bounce off armor plates at the moment, it lights the target on fire before giving a final small explosion after burning for 7 seconds. The amount of damage is not very clear. 4 stuck to a charger on Helldive was enough to make it start bleeding, but given that you could just throw impact grenades behind it, that's not much of a selling point. It seems to do less damage to Vile Titans or tanks, without even producing the fire visual effect, but I got a tank to start smoking with 4. Regardless, it's pretty weak for its intended purpose. You can use it to clear bug holes, as the final blast will destroy them, though you need to make sure to land the grenade inside the hole rather than near the top, or the blast won't be big enough. It doesn't work on bot fabricators unless you get a bounce and it goes inside, or wait for the door to open and toss it in. I've already tried sticking them to the wall to see if the armor penetration would hurt a building, and 4 wasn't enough for a light fabricator, so I don't think so. It seems like you need to hit the target with the tip of the grenade or it will bounce. I'm not sure if that's a bug or feature, but I do think it needs a buff. Armor penetration doesn't mean anything unless the damage that gets through does something, and it's already sacrificing blast radius. Personally, I think it needs to actually melt armor off so it has its own niche, and doesn't compete with the incendiary grenade. The grenade pistol, on the other hand, is very buggy. First off, when you land, your first magazine contains 2 shots, while subsequent reloads have 1. Second, there's a minimum arming distance before it can detonate. However, I've had this happen at wildly inconsistent ranges, so I can't give an actual distance. That's hopefully going to be patched in the near future. Its blast radius appears to be 8 meters, which is enough to supplement damage in shooting behind chargers and bot mechs, to damage weak spots, so it offers some flexibility in being able to place a decent grenade in your pistol slot. There's something you should know, though. Ammo packs give it 1 shot, and supply packs give it 2. You'll need all 4 of your team's resupply packs to refill your grenades for this weapon, so you may want to look into the supply backpack if you intend to use a lot. Grenade packs do not resupply it, I checked. It will destroy bug holes, however, it does not destroy bot fabricators at all. I tried shooting through the door from various ranges, and none of them worked, so either it bugged out every time, or it just doesn't destroy them, which is probably also a bug. Since its penetration isn't listed, I tried testing it. It seems to be around medium. On Helldive, 1 to the weak spot of Hulk, followed by 1 shot behind it, 2 for a charger, and 3 for a tank, assuming direct hits and no bugs, was enough to destroy them. Though you don't get a hit marker for the tanks. I think it does the damage if you hit the weak spot, though. However, given reload time, as we say in Hell, time is souls. There are faster options for heavy targets if you have a clear shot at the back. I plan to cover infantry weapons as a whole in a later video going over that. For now, Democratic Detonation. The Educator. So far, the marksman rifles have all been underpowered, and I don't think anyone in the community disagrees with that. The Educator is no exception. Doing only 80 damage, it comes up to 2,000 damage per magazine, as opposed to the Dominator, oh boy, Daddy Dominator, which did 3,000 before the buff. The Dominator is a better weapon, by a lot. The only possible advantage I can find for the Educator is its lower recoil, faster fire rate, and larger magazine size mean you can spread damage over more targets. However, there's a problem. No one is allowed to offer cursed pacts here, but neat. So, let me tell you about the Faustian deal you're signing. Yes, you can spread the damage over more shots, but time is souls. Spreading damage over many shots is good for horde clearing, assuming those shots actually kill targets. They won't. Unless you're landing headshot after headshot, it will take multiple hits to down even basic infantry bots or hunter bugs, meaning you need to spend more time firing and aiming and less time moving, and if you're running from a horde, you're kiting so you don't die. It might be passable on lower difficulty levels, but even then, you're better off with the Defender on page 3 of the default Warbond, which doesn't cost an extra 10 Hellbucks. Its recoil, while not a lot, is enough to throw off double-tap kill shots, and with only 6 magazines and such low damage each, you'll be strapped for ammo. It even takes 2 direct headshots at close range to take down Devastators rather than 1. The Educator is a cursed weapon. Moving on to the not cursed weapons, the Eruptor and Explosive Crossbow. They're very similar to each other. Despite being classified as explosive with the Dominator, I feel they have more in common with the Punisher Plasma. They're area of effect weapons that perform like squad support weapons instead of infantry weapons you'd want at close range. I'll start with the crossbow because it's the most expensive and on tier 3, so you don't have to buy it to advanced tiers, so if you don't like it, it'll save you 80 medals. I have heard a lot of people talking crap about it, but will say though, I do think it's an okay side grade to the Eruptor. I would also describe it as having a gentler learning curve despite needing to account for projectile speed and distance, due to it having twice the fire rate, half the recoil, unlisted faster reload time, and I also noticed unlisted lower weapon bulk sway. It also has a neat effect where you can reload with 1 shot left and get 6 shots instead of 5. That said, it does have problems. Big ones. Before you ask, no, the crossbow is not a stealth weapon. I know there's been talk about weapons for silent takedowns, but not this time, boys. It has a blast radius of 6 meters. The crossbow does not have armor pen. I've fired shot after shot at the weak spots of tanks to no damage, unless that's also a bug, which it might be since sometimes I do get hit markers. It will still hurt Charger and Hulk weak spots, though. 3 weak spot hits to pop a Hulk. The blast does have a unique effect that can equate to armor pen. If you hit the front armor plate on Scout Walkers, it will knock them over outright, and you will do damage to the turtle bugs that normally require medium AP, though it can still bounce off slanted parts. You can just fire at the ground nearby both targets and knock over the walkers or kill turtle bugs that way, but the impact added blast effect is there, so when it chooses to do damage, it does do the additional damage the description says it does, so maybe after a patch it'll be more viable, assuming these aren't intended flaws. It does not clear bug holes or explode bot fabricators when fired into doors. I checked. The impact explosion effect also does not open containers. The crossbow is more effective at killing bugs than bots. Bots have many more enemy types that have resistance to the crossbow's blast effect. The chainsaw guys that chase you around, you can hit them with bolt after bolt and still have them running towards you, because for whatever reason the impact explosion has little noticeable effect. You'll still one-hit kill Devastators if you hit the face, but aside from that you're looking at a good 3 hits to take them down. It also views gunships as having no weak spot at all and will do 0 damage to them entirely, but we all know those things are stupidly OP, so what were you expecting? I recommend aim down sights when using the crossbow if you want the direct impact bonus and precise shots. However, you can see how weak it is with me circle strafing a tank and firing constantly at an AA gun. It's weird to focus on precision hits mixed with being an area swarm clear weapon, mixed with its unclear impact explosion bonus, make the weapon more like training wheels for the Eruptor. I would say that it needs not a buff, but some fine-tuning and rebalancing to make its effects more clear and consistent. Now, the Eruptor. Oh, Daddy, the Eruptor. I just want to lick it, and you can't blame me. It takes some time to adjust to a weapon with this much width and impact, so you'll definitely need practice, but the pleasure is immense once you've learned how to handle him. He has a blast radius of 8 meters, but early on it's easy to knock yourself over with him when firing at targets that are giving you unwanted advances, and no one likes interruptions in the height of pleasure. Extremely potent for kill missions and able to wipe out weaker bug spawns or bot drops in a single shot. You could even consider him a shotgun if you aim behind your target. He's an excellent horde clearer, probably the best at the moment. This can free up a stratagem slot, since once you've had a few practice sessions with him, you may not need to take, say, cluster bombs when you otherwise would have. He's an excellent solo carry, meaning you can dive into hell with confidence, and if your allies don't have the stamina to satisfy you, he has plenty of extra to keep going and make your experience more enjoyable. Here's a trick to enjoying him. You can move and sprint while rechambering, just as if you were reloading, but it happens automatically and isn't interrupted by sudden movement or knockdowns. Once you get used to the timing, it becomes much easier to keep enemies from interrupting you, as he's far easier to handle. His penetration works consistently, and he's even considerate enough to bring a scope for your pleasure with up to a 200-meter zoom. He does have 2 weaknesses. He's not an infantry weapon you can use when enemies are right in your face unless you're wearing heavy explosive-resistant armor, and with his slow fire rate, he can't burst down heavy enemy weak points. Other weapons still dominate when it comes to doing things like popping a bunch of high-health bots, running at you with chainsaws, or dealing with chargers. The Eruptor and Crossbow are both swarm-clear weapons, and it's important to keep that in mind. Though you can still pull the trick of firing behind a Charger or Hulk to damage the weak spot, it's just slower than other options. However, given that he can give you a stratagem slot, this makes him a rock-hard ride, and I do recommend him. Last but not least, Fashion! The Groundbreaker provides some medium armor with a servo-assisted thrilling range bonus without using the cosmetic of the cybernetic arm, which I always thought looked a bit too low-tech and out of place for Helldivers. It's nice to have a medium armor version to go along with the light Legionnaire armor from the store. I also like the Chemtrooper look of it, plus the gas mask, since we don't have a Geneva Convention in Hell. And I don't think many people in the Helldivers community will judge me for saying that bugs and bots are not people. They can't even give me a life essence or souls. It's objectively true. For those who may not know, there are armors between light and medium, not offering the same speed bonus as light, but not reducing armor by as much. Prior to this patch, the only one I had seen in the Superstore was the Titan armor, and with the Demolition Specialist, we now have another highly fashionable and still functional addition to semi-light. Not to mention black is a great color that looks good with just about everything, and the red trim synergizes perfectly. I don't have much to say on the Devastator armor, though. It provides the same bonus as heavy armor obtained from the base game War Bonds page 2 Marksman, and the high faceplate looks kind of weird to me. The main fashion selling point is the very ladylike courtly bow, and for girls, may be worth buying the War Bond by itself. It's the most feminine we're probably going to get in this game, since I don't expect them to add cute shoes and Terra armor, and has immediately become my go-to victory pose, much as I'd like to stomp bugs with spiked heels. Can you really blame me? Thank you for donating your life essence to me. It was a joy training you, and I hope you found it pleasurable. I refuse to do YouTube pandering, and I know the algorithm will not be kind to me, so instead, please consider supporting me on my freshly launched Patreon. You're free to fantasize about the YouTube stuff, though. I won't kink shame. See you soon, my darlings.